The man everyone trusted wore a white coat. Patients listened when he spoke. Nurses followed his instructions. His signature carried weight. Inside the hospital, he was calm, controlled, respected. Dr. James Wan, MD, lived a life most people would never question. A successful medical career, a stable income, a reputation built on years of education and discipline. But outside the hospital walls, something was breaking. The relationship had turned toxic. Conversations became arguments. Arguments became silence. And silence slowly turned into obsession. What started as anger didn't stay loud, focused, dangerous. Dr. Wan didn't lash out. He didn't threaten. He didn't lose control in public. He did something far worse. He planned. Late at night, when the house was quiet and the world felt distant, he sat in front of a screen and searched for answers he shouldn't have been looking for. He wasn't looking for therapy. He wasn't looking for help. He was looking for a way out. One that wouldn't trace back to him. One that would end the problem permanently. That's when he found the dark web. Not the dramatic version people imagine. No flashing warnings, no skulls or chaos, just pages, menus, listings, clean design, professional language. It didn't feel criminal. It felt organized. That's what made it convincing. He told himself he was only curious. Then he saw it. A site offering something that should never be offered. Murder for hire. Written without emotion, without drama. Like a business service. No names, no faces, just promises, discretion, results. Cryptocurrency only. Dr. Wan didn't panic. He didn't close the page. He read. The reviews felt real, calm, matter of fact. Clients describing outcomes like they were discussing a completed renovation. No guilt, no excitement, just confirmation that the service worked. It disturbed him and reassured him at the same time. He sent a message. It was careful, almost clinical. He asked if the service was legitimate. The reply came quickly. Yes. Details required. Payment required. No refunds. At that moment, he could have walked away. Instead, he leaned closer. The conversation continued over days. Never rushed. Never emotional. The person on the other end didn't push him. They didn't need to. They knew patience builds trust. They asked for information, location, timeline, confirmation of intent. And with every reply Dr. Wan sent, the line became easier to cross. He didn't talk about feelings. He didn't talk about anger. He framed everything like a problem that needed solving. That distance made it feel manageable. Ethical questions faded into logistics. Morality was replaced by process. When the price was stated, he hesitated. The amount was high, but he could afford it. He already owned cryptocurrency. Bitcoin he had purchased long before, never imagining it would become a tool for this moment. He asked about guarantees. The reply was cold and final. Payment first. Job accepted. After confirmation. Clean execution. Dr. Ab. Wan stared at the screen. He knew what he was doing. He knew it was illegal. But something inside him whispered the lie that destroys more lives than fear ever could. No one will know. 5 Bitcoin were transferred. The confirmation appeared on the screen. A transaction hash. Digital proof. The point of no return. In that instant, something shifted inside him. Not fear. Relief. As if the burden had been lifted. As if the problem was no longer his responsibility. A message arrived, moments later. Payment received. Job in progress. Those 4 words sealed his fate. He closed the laptop and went on with his life. He went to work. He spoke to patients. He made clinical decisions that affected real lives. And all the while, he believed a countdown had started somewhere in the shadows of the internet. What he didn't know was that there was no hitman. The site wasn't run by criminals. It wasn't part of a secret underworld. It was a carefully constructed illusion. A trap, one designed to look real enough to attract people willing to commit the unthinkable. Every message Dr. Wan sent was logged, every word preserved, every timestamp recorded. The payment didn't disappear into darkness. It lit up a trail investigators had been waiting for. While he waited for updates, federal agents were already building a case. Cryptocurrency didn't protect him. It exposed him. The transaction connected identities, devices, locations, patterns formed. A profile emerged. A respected doctor was no longer invisible. Days passed. No further messages came. Job in progress remained the last update. Wan interpreted the silence as professionalism, discretion, proof that the system worked. The knock on his door came when he least expected it. Not late at night. Not dramatically. Just a controlled, deliberate knock that carried authority. When he opened the door, there were no raised voices, no drawn weapons, just badges. They said his name. Inside the interrogation room, there was no shouting, no intimidation, just evidence, printed messages, transaction records, screenshots of conversations he thought were anonymous. Then came the truth. There was no hitman. There never had been. The person he had been communicating with was an undercover FBI agent. The service was designed to catch people willing to pay for murder. Dr. Wan didn't deny the messages. He couldn't. His own words stared back at him. He tried to explain stress, emotion, a moment of weakness. The agents listened without judgment. But intent doesn't disappear, because regret arrives late. In federal court, Dr. James Wan, MD, pleaded guilty. The law didn't care that no one was harmed. The crime wasn't the outcome. It was the decision, the payment, the willingness to end a life. A respected doctor lost everything in a matter of months. Career, freedom, identity. The white coat that once symbolized healing became irrelevant, and, as the sentence was handed down, the dark web didn't create the crime, it only revealed who he was willing to become. Part 2 will follow the courtroom consequences, the sentencing, and the chilling lesson this case left behind about anonymity, arrogance, and the illusion of control. The courtroom was nothing like the dark web. There were no shadows to hide in, no usernames, no encryption, just wood benches, fluorescent lights, and a judge who looked down at a man stripped of every title he once carried. Here, Dr. Call. James Wan wasn't a physician. He wasn't respected. He wasn't protected. He was a defendant. When the proceedings began, the story sounded almost unreal when read aloud. A licensed medical doctor, years of education, a career built on saving lives, and yet, sitting in front of the court, accused of attempting to take one. The contrast alone filled the room with quiet disbelief. Prosecutors didn't need drama. They didn't need emotional arguments. They had evidence, messages written in his own words, payments sent from wallets linked directly back to him, timelines that showed intent forming, solidifying, and finally being acted upon. They explained it simply. This wasn't a moment of madness. It wasn't an impulsive outburst. It was planning, communication, payment, confirmation. Each step taken deliberately, calmly, rationally. The kind of thinking Dr. Wan used every day in his profession, now turned towards something irreversible. The defense didn't argue innocence. There was no denying the facts. Instead, they focused on the absence of harm. No one was killed. No attack occurred. They spoke about stress, personal turmoil, emotional strain, but the law doesn't weigh intentions by outcomes alone. The judge made that clear. In measured words, the court explained that society cannot wait for blood to be spilled before it intervenes. The crime was complete the moment money was sent with the purpose of ending a life. Whether the plan succeeded or failed was irrelevant. The willingness was enough. As the sentence was delivered, Dr. Wixpert, Wan stood still. No outburst, no tears, just a quiet acceptance. Years in federal prison, the end of his medical career, licenses revoked, a permanent criminal record. The white coat would never be worn again. Patients who once saw him as a healer would now see his name in headlines, forever tied to a crime he believed would stay hidden. Outside the courtroom, there were no cameras waiting, no public spectacle, just the slow realization that the life he knew was over. In the weeks that followed, the case spread quietly through professional circles. Doctors whispered about it in hospital corridors. Online forums debated how someone so educated could make such a decision. Some called it arrogance, others called it desperation. But the truth was simpler and more unsettling. He believed the system wouldn't catch him. The dark web had promised anonymity. Cryptocurrency had promised invisibility. Technology had promised control. And he trusted those promises more than the reality that has existed as long as laws themselves. There is no perfect anonymity. Every digital action leaves a trace. Every attempt to disappear creates patterns, and the more confident someone becomes in their invisibility, the easier they are to find. Law enforcement didn't stumble upon Dr. Wan by chance. They didn't get lucky. They waited. They built tools. They created traps that looked real enough for people to walk into willingly, not forcing anyone, not tempting anyone, just watching who would take the step. Dr. Wan took it. From his prison cell, there were no screens glowing in the dark, no messages promising solutions, no illusions left to believe in, just time. Time to replay every choice, every moment where he could have closed the laptop, every justification he told himself to keep going. The dark web didn't ruin his life. His belief in it did. So, this case didn't become famous because of how it ended. It became a warning because of how it began. Quietly, rationally, with a man who looked from the outside like someone who would never cross that line. And that is the most disturbing lesson of all. The internet doesn't turn people into criminals. It simply gives them a place to reveal who they already are, and a record that never forgets.